in the line of fire.
Good afternoon and welcome to the channel. Today's film will be In the Line of Fire, which is one of Clint Eastwood's better films of the 90s. In this film, he plays a retired CIA agent that has been employed to protect and serve the president in the early 90s. Let us find out some important things about this film, which makes it a great film to watch. Let us start with the first thing, which is the plot. Now, obviously, I don't usually start with the plot, but I think the plot of this film merits its own section. Well, a brief section anyway. What is the plot about? Well, there are two timelines woven together into this film. The present time where Frank Corrigan is called upon to protect the current president in the film anyway in 1993, and the past occasion where he was called on to protect the president in the 60s, that being JFK. Now, Frank Corrigan has had a lifetime of regrets and doubts about his role back in the 60s simply because he didn't actually fulfill his role in protecting the president when he was shot. So, with this in mind, we see how both cases are a parallel to each other. The past and the present form one continuous story. Let's now come to the second thing that makes this film so great, and that is the cast itself. Now, obviously, we have Clint Eastwood playing the lead guy, Frank Horrigan, should I say, not Corrigan, as I think I said before. After this, we have John Malkovich, who plays Mitch Leary. So, John Malkovich is someone who has done many great films over the years, such as Con Air. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was in Of Mice and Men as well. And he was in The Big Lebowski as well. So the next person in line is Rene Russo. Around this time, she also starred in number 3 and number 4 of Lethal Weapon as Mel Gibson's character's love interest. Another person in this film is Dylan McDermott. After this, we have a few other people. Gregory Cole, who around this time done the two Brady Bunch movies where he played the father. Then there's Fred Dalton Thomas, who sort of around this time, possibly a few years later, maybe, depending on the timeline really, he went into Law and Order, the original, as a leading figure. After this, we have Tobin Bell, who has been in quite a few things over the years. Um, and the last person to mention is John Hurt, who has acted in many things over the years, but most notably, he was in both of the films Home Alone and 1 and 2. playing the father of Kevin McAllister. So there's a brief picture of the cast to this great film. Let us now turn to a third important thing about this film, and that is the release information, that being the budget and what was the takings of the film. And we can look at this from two perspectives, I believe. In the first instance, at the time of the release in '93, it was one of the first films to have a trailer for the film made available online. Over via OAL, the trailer was downloaded 117 times in a week and a half. So that's just one little thing. Now we come to the main big thing. Let's look at both the original budget and the earnings that the film took in. So the budget was approximately 40 million, which I guess you could say was quite a significant amount for a film in that time, but maybe not. I'm not sure. What about the intakings? What the profits it made? Well, here's a good thing. It made 15 million on its opening weekend. It earned over 1 million, 102 million in North America and 85 million in other territories for a total of 187 million pounds or dollars or whatever you want to say worldwide. So it did have a very great impact, and it was one of the very important films that really brought Clint Eastwood back to the mainstream after almost a decade of having flops. That isn't to say that these other films weren't great in their own right. It's just that in terms of the monetary value of what every film made in return, it wasn't significant enough to make a mark until '93 with this film and the one prior to it, which was called Unforgiven. So the fourth thing that we will look at is the response or the critical feedback from critics and so on and so forth. And largely it seems very positive, but I'll give a couple of quotes here to substantiate that point. So, first of all, Rotten Tomatoes says that this particular film has 96% rating based on 73 views with an average rating of 7.7 out of 10. So there's a very good review. Um, on the Metacritic, it has a 74 out of 100 based on reviews from 16 audiences polled by Cinema Score. And this gave it a grade of A on an A plus to F scale, so still very good. Next, we have the New York Times with the review by Vincent Canby, who wrote, "It's movie making of the high, smooth commercial order that Hollywood prides itself on, but achieves with singular infrequency." Now, that is a very good statement, a very good review, I would say. And just think about that for a moment, that this is one of those films that really stood out. It stood out so far apart from many of the other films of the time. So Roger Ebert gave the film 3.5 out of 4, writing, "Most thrillers these days are about stunts and action. In the Line of Fire has mind." That's a very good review as well, I would say. Next, Los Angeles Times. The critic reviewing the film is called Kenneth Turan, who said of this film that is crisply entertaining. Praising the cast, Malkovich's insinuating, carefully thought out delivery is in the same way an ideal foil for Eastwood's bluntly straightforward habits. And Eastwood, he says of him, every part of the film trades so heavily on Eastwood's presence that it is impossible to imagine it with anyone else in the starring role. So there you see several different critics giving it praiseworthy reviews, and it's no wonder because it is a very, very powerful film, well put together, well casted, and the storyline is thought provoking beyond anything that any other film has ever achieved. But I would say that many of um, Clint Eastwood films falls under the same kind of understanding. Thank you once again for listening to this video, and I would highly recommend this film as one that people should watch for a highly suspense thriller and drama.